Hola.
You hear me
How you
okay?
doing, brother? Yeah, do you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you great. So
Good.
it's nice to meet you in person, sort of. In person for the new age.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, man. Once again in this reincarnation, huh?
Yeah. So congratulations for winning the session here, and I'm wondering, have you seen any of my sessions that are posted on my YouTube or my website?
Yeah, some of. I've watched one yesterday.
Uh-huh.
It was about a girl that lost the son of her sister, and
Mm-hmm.
you were talking to her about timelines and
Mm-hmm.
independent timelines, and then at the end something about prophecies. It was pretty great. But one thing I liked is yours about the higher selves
Mm-hmm.
and the emotions being kind of like the tool for you to understanding the message from the higher self, right? Like the higher
Yes.
self sending all these kinds of message to your subconscious body through emotions, kind of putting the puzzle together, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
So,
pretty much
do
what
you
I've
want to talk
watched about.
about today? Is that what you want to talk about today?
Yeah,
Well,
some
I'm
quite.
going to recommend that we turn off our video because I'm getting choppy reception from you.
Yeah, let's do that.
Uh, yeah, let's do that so we can have a clear talk. Do you know how to turn your video off?
Is that better?
Not yet.
I don't. All right.
All right, let's see if that
Now,
works.
how about now?
Yes, so far
All
so
right then.
good.
All right.
So,
So, what I wanted to talk about it,
yeah, it's
right?
entirely up to you. This is your time.
Okay. Lately, one thing that has been interesting me is the all the stuff about twin flame.
Uh-huh, yeah. Now,
Like,
have you been researching that?
yeah, kind of, and also experiencing it. At
Uh-huh.
first time, unconsciously, because I hadn't do any inner work yet, and then when I had my spiritual awakening, I kind of went in a, how to say, in an ego phase,
An ego
about
direction?
self-centered, because I wanted to discover my own truth, and I had a girlfriend all this time along, and she's not really into spirituality. She's a very simple girl,
Mm-hmm.
and for all this time, she has made she has made me do a lot of improvement that I wasn't aware of until lately. Because I was criticized her for, not meditating, not listening to all my long philosophical discussions and all
Yeah.
these things. But recently, I started to love her unconditionally, and I know if I'm with her and I'm feeling great with her, then let the divine plan flow.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I
Uh,
guess lately it doesn't matter so much that she's not awakened as I am. I mean, in some kind of way, I feel like it's meant to be that way, to teach me something and teach her something in a weird way, right?
yeah, no, no, absolutely. There's a great deal of information for the spiritual path walker in all the relationships, especially the ones that are close and the ones that we spend a lot of time in. You know, the ones that are close to us, the ones we have a lot more physical time, uh, spent either thinking about the relationship or involving experiences where the other is in the experiences as well. Right, so our partners are very big. Our family can be very big. Our children can be very big. The people that we work with can have a lot of really big messages. And one of the things that's pretty common for those who are waking up is to not have partners that are quite so interested in that. They don't have the same motivations, right? They don't have the same experiences that spark their inner flame to discover what it's about. Um, However, as you're pointing out, being spiritual and going down that path is actually very personal and doesn't require anyone else to change at all. In fact, um, they're more a reflection of you and how you're handling your journey than it would actually appear that they are of themselves. Is this place where there's separation between someone else and yourself doesn't exist. And so when you start looking down that path, you start to understand that they're reflecting things about your own awareness that you're not aware of. So you can become aware of it. So it's like parts of your subconscious, you don't know things in your subconscious, well, they can be brought to the surface. And things like ego don't often identify themselves. Often ego shows itself by other people having an ego in your face. It's funny. It's like their ego is part you, is partly your ego. Um,
Yeah,
and what often bothers you about someone else is a vibration that you're not in balance in within yourself that causes you to be triggered, angry, or start to react. So
exactly.
it's like every lesson with someone else is actually a personal lesson, even if um, the other person is severely hampering of your experience. A lot of the time, on the big picture scale of things, and this is actually where your higher being is giving me a little bit of um, updated feedback about the subject,
Yeah,
is saying that the amount that you have in terms of difficulty with a partnership and with those around you is your broader self telling you and helping you identify with your mind not being fully ready. So you've not found a way to feel your way in such a way that you don't trigger this memory and mind space as observed in the other person, okay? Because you trigger the mind space in the other person, that is because your approach with your conscious mind, as conscious as you're aware of your own approach, is not yet in balance. And you find more balance as you go along. It's like you're on a tightrope wire and you're trying to find your balance. And sometimes you go too far this way and sometimes you go too far that way. But the more that you find a respect for the other and a respect for yourself, and you operate from more a feeling place than choosing facts and rules and beliefs, then you'll
yeah,
start to feel your way into a balanced relationship that's sustainable, that can last forever because you're constantly paying attention to balancing and not about keeping the other person up, and you're not focusing on falling, which can attract falling, you see. So that's what I'm being told, and imagery from your broader self right now. um, it's really fascinating because when you look at your relationship with people that are not, say, twin flames or soulmates and whatnot, and let's just say if a boss, we'll just give a really broad example. You work at
okay,
Burger King, okay,
yeah,
and your boss is down your neck saying, get better at your job and no. There's this place where you're like, I am good at my job, or you can be like, yeah, I'm not really good at my job. You can pick one of those two approaches with your mind. And if you find comfort with that, then you're moving in the correct direction for the feeling. But if you're fighting against it, saying, I am good at my job, damn it, he's wrong, well, then you're not finding the feeling that leads you to balance. Or if you
yeah,
say, oh, he's right, I'm really crappy at my job, oh my God, boo-hoo me, I suck, and that doesn't feel good either, then you're like swinging the opposite direction too much, right? And so you find that middle path. You say, yeah, I can improve. And, what he's saying, don't take it too seriously, you know? And so you find that feeling space that's somewhere in the middle so that you don't either beat yourself up or you don't become superimposed on by other people's intentions. Because
Yeah,
other people's intentions are invitations. This idea that people can control your life is not true. You invite that in order to find your balance. How much are you willing to be pushed around? And how much are you willing to put yourself down? It's like the two sides of a crummy coin, where when you balance the penny upright, that's the journey that you're ultimately seeking in the feeling vibration of the approach to life. It's very good. I really like that. I want to say thank
yeah.
you.
It's great because that's the feeling that I've had lately. Like in almost all my experiences, dreams, and also with my experience, let's say with psychedelics mushrooms, is that eventually, your emotions and it's a reflection of the outside, and you always go right, left, until the right and the left stop fighting together to impose or whatever, and
Yeah,
they start working together and finally find a balance between both.
yeah. It's yeah. I feel like this is a really good message for me. Um, as that's something that I really like to learn more about. And you showing up is a really great synchronicity because um, your your guide has like become your higher self has like become one of my guides in this
Yeah.
moment. So um, so talking about the twin flame element, I've looked into the vibration of that in the past, and the concept of twin flame, and the concept of soulmate, and the concept of soul family. Did you want to talk about that a little bit? We can get into that if you like.
Yeah, of course, because I guess that's where I have work to do. Because me, like loving unconditionally all the world and all the universe, is doing perfectly fine. Like I have no trouble like loving the one that harms me or the one that harms other. I understand that, let's say, divine is everywhere in all kinds of weird ways, being the first and the last.
Hmm.
But it's more or less that the really, as you say, twin flames, soul family, all this stuff. I feel challenged by many situations, and I guess I'm trying to respond better each time. Be a better student, learn.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely the approach that I try to do. That I try to take. I'm not always in the state of mind to be aware of that. Sometimes, I get upset, I get sad, I get lost, and then, as I calm down, I start to see a little bit of what the bigger picture was. So sometimes I'm definitely um, in that place where I don't know what's going on, or at least I think I do, but it's really I'm focusing on you know circumstances and small incidences or small experiences that don't speak to the bigger reasons. And so the spiritual path has a lot to do with broadening your perspective, right? Um, with regards to the relationships that are like soul family, and then soul mates, and twin flames, um, I'm finding that it's a as you find yourself in other people, um, soul family are people that you feel ready to talk with. Like you're willing to be honest with them, and so often your own family, if you have a good rapport with them, there's like no reason for you to hide anything. You speak your mind, and whether that's comfortable or not, they're individuals that are ready to receive any piece of you, right?
Yeah.
So oftentimes we find our parents or siblings or best friends we've had for life. fit into that category. But as you're probably figuring out these days, there's people that are outside the people we grew up with that are also willing to hear us in our transparent and barren, ways, because they have this sort of, on one level, it looks like patience. Sometimes the patience has a very short limit. There's a point at which they say, all right, you've talked enough. I'm fed up with what you're saying. I'm going to talk to you now about what I'm hearing. But soul family is definitely a feedback mechanism. It's not just someone who's there to listen to you. They're going to be honest back, right? And
Yeah.
they're going to portray their inner point of understanding and perspective back. And we need that. We need people who are going to be honest with us. As this world that has so many beliefs where people are not in trust because so many beliefs are so different, they don't want to feel out of place. People are not being so honest. Soul family are those people that you have a very high propensity for being just blunt, and we need to be able to practice that. And sometimes soul family is the first place we're willing to do that versus bigger world family, right? Everybody family. Sort of.
Yeah, but you know the saying that knowledge is knowing what to say, and wisdom is knowing when to say it.
Hmm. I feel like we discover that
Uh,
constantly.
Yeah, because that's what I'm noticing. I have so much to say or to do to help people, or some advices.
Hmm.
But I'm finding that you gotta wait the right moment, otherwise they won't hear you or they're gonna get mad. Like, it's happening mainly with my mom. Like,
Yeah.
she gets all upset and all stressed, and when I say it right away, she gets even more upset and stressed. So I kind of have to wait for her to cool down and then have a nice chat with her, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, because sometimes, well, one thing you may notice, and I'm getting another strong visual from you, is when we want to help someone, and we actually have an honestly really good idea of how to help them, right? Um, and and we're really ready to. There's this place where they're not ready, and despite us having a really good understanding, they're not able to digest it. It's like in that place and time, the vibration is too different from where they are, right? It's
Mhm.
like somebody's just got fired and they're throwing plates or whatever, and you say, look, all you need to do is have love and you'll get through this. That's the last thing they're going to be able to understand because their vibration's so far from that, right? They'll be like, you're against me too because you can't understand where I'm coming from. And
Yeah.
they throw a plate at you or something. So when they're calmed down, that's that's an indication that their vibration is not as far away from where you are in being able to talk with them. But there's also a place where, as you can go and start throwing plates too, right? You can go in there with them, feel their pain, like just lose yourself in their experience and start throwing plates too. It's like, yeah, you're right. This is crap. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And in some cases, you may look back and say, I'm making this worse. But
Yeah.
sometimes that's what people do for each other. They say, you know what? Let's take this ship rock bottom. We're going to do it together. I'm going to help you get down to rock bottom fast. And then there's a pivoting point. And then some people, they'd say, you brought me to rock bottom. But you say, you know what? We explored rock bottom together. And together, we're going to explore our way out of this. And so you have like a good cry afterwards, right? All hope is lost, sort of rock bottom feeling. And then because you're tied at the hip, because you honestly do love the person, your empathy is strong with the individual, you can walk your way back up, to a lighter vibration. And you can do it, without using the predisposition of how things can be. It's like you got a new path. You can decide now better, like how you would like things to be, because you have nothing to lose. You've already lost the old ideas that made you upset. Now you can construct constructive new ones. And we do that with each other. And some people, the relationship, they're not ready to do that, for like a stranger. But they may do that for like a sibling or their parent or whatnot. And honestly, in order to truly, go through that journey, it takes a great deal of empathy, right? It takes a great deal of, sometimes they need to tell you some things that are part of the story that you didn't know. Like, why are you freaking out because you lost your job or wherever? And they tell you something new. Well, because, this is a job that my father lost and I couldn't take care of the family, and, it's bringing up other stuff. It's like, oh, that's good. That's good. You should talk about that. Even if, you're going through it, you're discovering something. You're discovering something that you can shine a light on, right? And maybe you keep going down that terrible story until you get to the rock bottom. There's a lot of benefits in that. But as you're probably aware, many people are saying you don't have to go to rock bottom. You just have to get to a point where you realize what's really important. And that is rewriting in a positive way. Rewriting in a way that you find more in tune with yourself. And some people, the things that they go rock bottom on are the things that truly are not them. Like things that they've associated with that truly are not them. There was this thing that came up on Facebook a while ago where there was this girl crying because this celebrity couple broke up. This fan of the celebrity just crying, like, and it was like some, silly meme that says, you're too much into Hollywood when, you're like this, right? And I said, that's very true. We sometimes, uh, connect ourselves to beliefs and things in the outer world that are just so ready to be taken out of your life. And so there's things that come crashing down, and sometimes those crashing downs give you the greatest opportunity to stop looking outside yourself and start looking inside, and start making choices. They say, making better choices, but you can make really much better choices, especially when you're with someone like yourself who has a really good idea of how far you can go in following your bliss and following your heart. It's like it doesn't even have to stop. It can get like really good. You can start looking at like losing your job as like, wow, that was like the greatest blessing. Thank you for helping, me see
Yeah,
this, you
exactly.
know? And even though it looks like, oh my God, why are you rejecting this idea? Sometimes you gotta like be with, no, I'm not rejecting idea. I am all for this. Definitely feels crummy to you. I'm not, negating that this is obviously, attention to something that is really not right, you know. Um, and so there's those relationships, and soul family are the kind of people who are willing to go through those sorts of, rough times. Then there's soulmates. Soulmates don't necessarily have to be intimate relationships. They can be soulmates that are often like, friends that we've had for a long time, or people that, sort of like stick with it. These are the kind of people who are not only honest with you. They don't have to be honest on everything, but for the most part, they're the kind of people that are going to tell you, you know what, your makeup looks like crap today. You got a bad haircut. I'm willing to tell you these things because, you actually want to know these things. So I've learned from you. You want me to tell you when things are really off. And, you're going to have patience with me on the subject because you know that you want me to tell you those sorts of things. At the same time, soulmates also ask that of you, where sometimes you need to be the one that's going to break bad news to them, and the soulmate's counting on you to sort of set them straight. Now, that doesn't mean that you accuse them and blame them of, hey, man, you got a terrible haircut and you really screwed up when you got that haircut. It doesn't have to be like that. It can be more along the lines of, you got yourself a bad haircut. Do you realize that this is not, what you were probably asking? Now, I'm not accusing you of knowingly choosing a bad haircut, even though it seems like you consciously chose. I'm here to hear what you have to say. Maybe maybe you want to talk about, maybe you attracted this in some way. I'm here to help you unravel the puzzle, of what led you to this experience. And so oftentimes soulmates are the ones that, you know, in the end, they're the ones that are also going to be very patient. But honestly, a lot of times soulmates are the ones that show you things about yourself, right? They're the ones that are like, uh, hey, I crashed your car. And you're like, what? You crashed my car? Like, oh my God, what kind of friend are you? And they're like, well, honestly, you, I don't know what to tell you. And you're like, what? How can you not have something to tell me? My car's gone. I didn't, my insurance is not going to cover all this and stuff. Even if they can't explain it to you, there's great, great lessons. You start to do things like, you know what? Insurance never had my back. You know, you
Yeah.
start to see things like insurance is one of the biggest farces and illusions. It's really some sort of tool to make you not be responsible for your vibration, you know? Uh, and that's what your friend could have done unconsciously. So oftentimes, soulmates do a lot of things unconsciously because you know what? Oftentimes, they wouldn't want to hurt you. They wouldn't want to know that they're hurting you. And even though they can hurt you, and even though you can hurt them, it's almost never on the conscious level. Sometimes it is. Sometimes I'm doing this for your own good. I am, pulling you out of here, and that happens. Um, and then there's, well, that's a lot what uh, soulmates do. The ones that are really willing to take a beating for being in your life. Oftentimes these are the people that we marry or have long-term relationships with. But the twin flames is, as you're probably aware, is actually more rare than
Yeah.
soulmates, right? Twin flames are the ones that almost like a copy of you. Like they have the same skills and advantages often, or a good deal of so many similarities to you that they also come with all the same problems. Right now, on the one level, twin flames sound excellent because you know what? You got someone that you can agree with on almost everything, right? Like, hey, we kind of are on the same page about so much. But at the same time, you also escalate when things are wrong. You both go through hell together, and you both are like, carrying each other back up the mountain and sorting that out. It's like you're both willing to explore hell, right? When one person, and it may not be like you both have the same flaw directly. Let's just say one person, their dog dies, right? They're your twin flame. They lose their dog, and although you weren't in love with the dog like your twin flame was, you go through the same hell that your twin flame does, right? Because you're so emotionally connected as you understand and begin to understand what it's like to lose a dog through the person that has such a similar experience to understanding life as you. So you go down there too, and you're saying, and you honestly want to help out, but sometimes it's like one of those things that I talked about before. Sometimes you both got to go all the way to hell together, you know,
Yeah. And
and and that
I
sort of
also
thing
think,
happens a lot. I think, and it's a really beautiful thing when you identify that your relationship is not together only to make yourself happy, right? Like you're not meant to feed each other happiness, but to be there to maybe find what it takes to bring yourself back up. and support each other back and forth. Sometimes you take turns. Say, I'm going to lift you up this part of the mountain, and then you take turns doing that. Say, oh yeah, this and that. Um, and so oftentimes twin flames go into depression together, and they go into elation together. Um, there's a great level of personal development when you begin to understand that everything is a mirror, right? Everything is an attraction, including a copy of you, like a clone of some sort, maybe just the opposite sex. And sometimes, the opposite sex is very compelling because it helps identify, say, if you're male, it helps identify a more feminine side of you that you don't see, and you're helping identify for the other the more masculine side,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Like
that's sort
bringing
of
two,
dynamic.
yeah, like bringing two opposite point of view that actually that actually go perfectly well together, like
It's
both
like,
sides of the coin, right?
yeah, or like bifocal vision, right? You get a clearer experience from both people's perspectives, and that sort of like describes a larger world, that describes a larger theme, that describes a larger space of awareness. As long as you're not immediately in the rejecting the other person's view, right? And twin flames tend to be in that position where you say, I can't reject your view very long because you know what? I can see how I'm sort of the same way, and that happens often enough, at least with those that are prepared to call the relationship twin flame relationship, you know.
Yeah, exactly.
But so yeah, I find it very, very fascinating. I think many people are not choosing the type of twin flame relationship, as amazing as it sounds it can be, because it's a very intense developmental path, right? And some people are not here to become enlightened in 6 weeks.
Yeah,
They're okay with a longer pace of doing things, and some people, maybe some people have been around for 50, 60 years. They're like, I've been waiting around. I need things to go fast. I need to find somebody who is almost like a clone of me so that I can really identify vibrations in me that are resistant to my growth, you know?
yeah, exactly. But like, I mean, if you find a clone of you, which is called a twin flame, it remains that both of you got inner work to do. And I think it's good for both to have different strengths and weakness. So let's say
Hmm.
in one way your twin flame teaches you something that let's say she knows pretty well,
Hmm.
and in return you teach her something that you know pretty well but that she doesn't quite. I feel that's kind of what's happening with me and my girlfriend, because she teaches me mainly things, not spiritual as I told you, but
Yeah.
really like physical, like be responsible. When you say something, like keep your
Hmm.
word.
Hmm.
You say you're gonna do something, do it. And when someone needs you, be there, and all this stuff. It's not something like, yeah, follow your heart or whatever, but it's kind of a piece of me that kind of was missing.
Yeah.
But she's really responsible. Like she's good with planning things and making things work out like in a direct way, and I'm more like space out,
Yeah.
just
And
flowing
and
around the wind and watching the birds. So I made this allegory that she's a fish and I am the bird, right? And
yeah.
she's teaching me how to be grounded and how to take care of my family, um, visualize alive, and make it concrete.
Hmm.
And I'm kind of teaching her more the abstract way, like you don't need to get a hold on everything, just let yourself flow.
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
let it go, right?
Yeah. And that balance between grounding and expansion is the tightrope wire, right? That your mind is to journey to expand the fullest, right? Because this
Exactly.
reality doesn't exist without repeating and creating grounding. It's like you can't climb stairs if you can't place stairs on which to step upon to go forward. I mean, you can elevate and elevate and elevate, but you can fall without anything that sort of like describes how you got there, right?
Yeah.
So, the grounding is a process so that you can elevate yourself and hold yourself elevated as well. So, you do develop beliefs, enlightening beliefs and enlightened beliefs. And the expansion, or those that are very attuned to expanding, they're often destroyers of beliefs, right? They're very attuned to, like, these beliefs don't work anymore. These
Yeah.
stairs, 7 floors down, we're never going back down 7 floors again. We can recycle those stairs and use them going forward. We could use that energy to ground new concepts, you know? And
Yeah.
oftentimes that's a lot the way that I feel this whole ascension period of time is like. There's a point where you can keep expanding your mind and keep expanding your mind, but if you're still holding on to some things, you may find yourself trying to keep 100 floors worth of beliefs of low vibration all the way to high vibration. It's like there's a point where you really don't care about some of those really low vibrational beliefs. And you're just like, you know what, I'm going to stop thinking about that. And I'm going to take my attention away from believing that the lowest steps in vibration are necessary. And you release yourself from that. For instance, some people, they want to raise their vibration, and they're vegetarian, and they have such a hard time with people that are eating meat. Sometimes you just gotta let it go. You gotta let go of this belief that meat is actually, terrible for you, perhaps, if you're eating it. It may be for you because, that's your experience. But it's like you gotta let that go for other people. Otherwise, you're gonna keep feeling like you need to help people become vegetarian. When really, you find out as you keep going forward that you don't want to spend all this time trying to make people vegetarian or saving the whales or whatever. That your heart is not in it to give your attention in that direction. Your heart is like, I got much more exciting things to do than that. And you got to let yourself do the more exciting things, the more vibrational things. It doesn't mean that you're ignoring, vegetarianism. It doesn't mean that, eating meat still doesn't bother you, but don't let it bother you so much that it's actually making you try to keep those really old steps, 100 floors down intact. Like you got to keep your argument for it so strong that you're attracting arguments. Try to prove to everyone around you that meat is the wrong thing to eat. Just as an example.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's true. Uh, Oftentimes, the people that are expanding, they attract people who are like sandbags for like a hot air balloon. Make sure you don't fly away completely. Say, hey, you got really good expanding abilities, but it's time to walk more of a middle path. And so your mind and your higher being attracts people who are going to give you exactly, even though it may seem uncomfortable, say, no, 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 I'm not grounding anymore. So hold on. There's no race here. There's this idea I think a lot of people had where they needed to like get to like ascension by the end of 2012. Do you remember this whole idea?
Yeah.
That everything changes at that point. Lots of things
Yeah.
changed, but in the end, the pace at which you get an ascension point is entirely your choice. It's entirely your path and your pace, and not everyone's pace is the same. We need to acknowledge that everybody has a different journey. Many of us have similar journeys that we can compare notes on, for most of the journey. But obviously, there's points. People come in and out of our life, even those that we call soul family. They're in and out of our life. They move on. They've got to do their own explorations in their own particular ways. No, there's this idea that we're going to have a one world community where everyone believes the same thing. I was like, hell no. There's no way that's going to happen with the way people are expanding. It's going to be so artistic and so expanded. It'll be a place where, yes, it'll be easier to be happy, But that's about it. Everyone is still going to explore billions of different ideas, and there's really no need for everybody to be on the exact same page.
Yeah, only
Religions are
to
going to turn
accept.
into like super religions, and politics will turn into enlightened politics perhaps, and all these different layers of things that already exist.
Yeah, so acceptance is the key, right? When you have.
Acceptance and don't push yourself. The only point here is identifying, am I able, it's like your heart is describing how much energy you have, right? When you're depressed, you just don't have the energy to do things. You're just like, I can't be bothered, I just don't have the motivation, whatever. Depression is a state where you can understand you just don't have the energy. Or when you're sick, you don't have the energy because your body is, handling, putting its attention towards healing your body. So, when you feel excellent and on top of the world, and you're enjoying like an amusement park or something like that, and or a really great song or movie excites you, you're like able to jump off the walls with the energy that you have, and it shows in your body. And so feeling that vibration of energy is literally pretty much how you get anything done. Because honestly, that's sort of like the grease that greases the wheels so that things can go into motion. We describe it as energy, and energy pays the bills like money does, but it's truer than money is, right? Because energy is abundant in this reality. Just as your ability to become excited sans the need of money, you can become excited. That means, hey, you know how to get energy. And that's all that it takes in this world, is to find a way to continue to support yourself by finding reasons to feel good, and discovering what makes you feel good. Like if there's things that consistently make you feel good, that's a really good idea to know what makes you feel good, because you can have that as a fallback. You can ground in that, at least for a time, until you're really, truly bored of it. Um, and you can
Yeah,
use that, that state where you're excited to fuel other things. Like I say, sometimes people are like, video games make me feel really good, but, they make me feel real bad when I'm doing crappy. I don't stop playing video games if they make you feel crappy. If they make you feel good, great. End on a high note and go do something you wouldn't normally have the energy to do. Go do the dishes after you just beat up somebody and are excited in Street Fighter or something. Go and use that energy for all their other benefits that maybe you don't have the energy to do. Like, do your homework after you've had a really good bout of Tetris. You know, simple
yeah,
things, right? It can propel you, because it leads to states of mind of empowerment. And the mind feeds off this, right? The mind says, I am good at Tetris. I am good. I'm good. I'm good at homework. I can do homework now. Or I can go to my Burger King job with a smile on my face, because for a while I've got this high, and,
exactly.
and things like that in your relationship. Before going out to work, if you've got a spouse or a partner, it's like a gentle kiss before you leave, like that. That can make the next hour quite hoppity, and sort of light, and give you that sort of like you know I've got good energy at home to come home to, and it's there for me. Things
Uh,
like this can
So,
really do things like
so what I
help
feel
us
you're
out.
telling me about expansion and grounding is that eventually, find the equilibrium between both, right?
Yeah, when you find
No.
an equilibrium, believe it or not, those sorts of things tend to not be in your life anymore. They tend to leave. Like when you find yourself finding that middle path with working at Burger King, you're probably going to get another job without even trying. You're probably going to be like, yep, Burger King has not much more to teach me. You know,
Yeah,
I'm already a master of working at Burger King. It's a piece of pie. Now I'm actually going to challenge myself by first inviting myself something exciting. Oh, great new job. You go in it and you're like, whoa, being a manager is actually kind of difficult. But you know what? I'm excited because the pay's good. So your excitement, is kind of like what got you in the door. And then you're like, okay, how am I going to do it this time? And you go through another journey.
Yep, exactly.
And that's progress. Having experiences, um, these sort of things, your soul stores them, right? It's very clear. And oftentimes, those things that are stored make you an expert, like in your next life or later on in your life. So let's just say you died. You're a master, barbecue, Burger King employee, and your next life, you do Burger King, but you don't do it for 6 months. You do it for like 2 days, and you're already a manager because your skills and your knowledge of how to be it come naturally to you because your soul said, you know what, we're gonna push you to the front of the line. We don't need to do this. We're just gonna get you to where you need to be. And so each life is like a continuation of the progress you're making. And so
Yeah,
that's
so
why we look at humanity now and we say, oh, we've got all these past lives in the past. Humanity's doing really good, and we've all worked to get here in many ways so that we're, hey, I'm ready to take things to the next level. Always ready to take things to the next level.
yeah, so talking about taking things to the next level, about my relationship with my girlfriend,
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know, I've noticed that you have asked the girl in the other session, like, you told her your guides seem to be kind of like, you say some guys are like teachers, so higher
Hmm.
self like
Hmm.
teachers, and they
Yeah.
say like, God damn it, I'm gonna teach you,
Yeah.
and others kind of let them free. I feel that my guides or higher self or both
Hmm.
really want me to learn what I'm learning from her because
Hmm.
all my concepts about spirituality, higher vibrations, and all this, she simply is not ready to hear them, nor to implement them, nor like I kind of get her lost every time I try to talk about her, but I feel like I have to integrate totally all her teachings for her then to listen to me, which is kind of weird, but I feel it's meant to be that way.
There is. I'm going to speak directly what's being communicated to me. I'm
With
going to
what?
I'm going to speak some words directly from your guides.
Okay.
Um, it's not about 100% listening to it the way that she has, but it's integrating it with your way. So in fact, she's like 50% of the equation, and you're the other 50% that evolves her equation and yours at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? So even though she says do the dishes at 8 o'clock every night, you have a variation that may not be exactly 8 o'clock. That's a starting point, but you may start to see, you know what? I think actually 7:30 is better. And actually, I start to find out that between 7:30 and 8 is even better. And then you start to find out, oh, that was based on the fact that we watch a television show at 8 and we always want to be ready before that. And so as long as I'm finding a vibration before 8 o'clock, that's becoming better. And then you start to think about the dishes in terms of like, this idea of cleaning up, and you start evolving your processes on cleaning, and it sort of like, grows into different areas that maybe she could not give a crap about. And I don't care
Yeah.
when you're getting the dishes done. It's true. I want it done before 8 o'clock or, whatever works. But that groundedness is like a starting point, it's like the first step. What you do after you acknowledge that step and practice that step, you get to evolve it. In fact, possibly create even more advanced steps. But yes, what I'm hearing is take that step. Almost take the instructions verbatim and evolve them in balance. Don't evolve them and piss her off because that's not going to be in balance. No more than doing it all your exciting way of doing it, without acknowledging the balance of like, is this going to work going forward, right? It can work for today, and you can be in the moment. You can be like Eckhart Tolle, the power right now. This is working or whatever, and that moment can do a lot for tomorrow. When tomorrow shows up, you say, okay, yesterday was great, and now in that, by approaching that same in the moment, is the answer to right now the same as yesterday, or am I actually taking it another step? Am I able to take this understanding a little bit further and evolve it and become even more excited about this process? And so you can do that. And some people, they're not wanting to be awake all the time. They want some downtime because their mind is not ready to learn like in the classroom all day. They say, take some breaks where you're acting unconsciously and living by your subconscious is fine. But in your case, what I'm hearing specifically is you're asking for grounding and she's giving you the steps to start from, to start. Then you make it your own. That's important. If you leave it strictly as her presentation, then you're not going to find yourself with something to sort of like launch from. Think of it as a springboard. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're springboards intended to evolve. And when you do that, when you're able to expand in such a way that it feels exciting, she will pick that up. You'll actually excite her in a stage of evolution to take her reality and be excited for moving forward. So in fact, you demonstrate how to take where she starts into an exciting direction. In many
Oh, okay.
ways, it's like demonstrating how it gets better.
Okay, so go to her point where she is grounded,
Yeah, she's good.
assimilate myself to that, and then
Yes.
put it my own way, in my own exciting way, and like tease her into that, right?
And that will be motivation as long as you're excited. It's like it has to be personal. If you're excited, that's true. If you're doing it to see if you could get a rise or an excitement out of her, that's like that's like trying to tie your shoelaces with your nose. You're using the wrong methodology about how to address the vibration between you and your outer reality, because you can't create grounding by changing or trying to focus on changing and adjusting somebody else. It's always done in the first person.
Yeah.
So you invite new realities for yourself and for others to explore by having a great deal of heart in what you do day to day and in your actions. That's actually the strongest motivating factor for anyone around you. Trust me. Uh, what your guys are saying is spot on. Um, by the way, would you like to know the name of the guide that's actually speaking this?
Yeah, go ahead.
It's it's a French name. It's funny. It's Jacques.
Jacques?
Yeah. Um, I want to say it's actually like a Jacques-like saint of some sort, like previously incarnated as a human Jacques, similar to like an angel or a saint of some sort. Um,
Whew.
he's he's a very excitable person. It's funny. He has a mustache and a goatee. It's very pointy. It looks like Three Musketeers or something.
Yeah?
Yeah. And he's very lean and he's bouncy. He's very like a jester or something, but not a jester. But he's very playful. He's very let's go and let's explore and let's actually make this work. Like let's solve this problem and let's do it in joy. That's very his sort of thing.
Nice. Well, I don't know. I always had an attraction to drawing lean faces with the mustache, curly
Yes,
and
yeah.
yeah, cool.
So yes, that's you channeling him a little bit, I suspect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I have a little question. Like, if you
Yeah.
can answer it, that's all right. But I've been triggered by one of my deepest experience that I had before going to sleep.
Hmm.
It's kind of the only time that I took my whole body into a sort of astral plane, you know.
Yeah.
I sometimes do astral projections or lucid dreaming,
Yes.
but it was different. Instead of feeling my body like a little numb or a little ghostly, I felt my whole entire body taking into another place,
Hmm.
and the whole energy rising from down to bottom into my pineal gland.
Hmm.
And it was a dark night, and then I felt like one guy coming down
Hmm.
and walking from the forest to me. He was kind of black and looked like an African.
Hmm.
And he just told me, you need to clean up your table, your mess. And I had a table like full of mess. That was 1 year ago, and I'm really grateful to him for this advice.
So that was someone that was part of a council that you worked with, that you've graduated beyond. Think of it as like a panel of teachers that you had at the time. You're
Yeah,
not working with that council anymore. It's not needed. You had that council since around the beginning of 2013. So you had them for about 11 months, a little bit, yeah, just over 11 months. And you did a lot of things like cleaning. You did a lot of, we might have probably kind of an intense life during that time.
exactly, man. It
Yeah.
was a changing point. Yeah,
Yeah, and he was we won't say a voodoo doctor, but he was like a shaman of sorts from the vibration that you find in Africa. And the energies there are very raw and simple and straightforward, and that's kind of one of the ingredients you need to operate from. It's almost like decomplicating things, you know?
yeah,
So, and so that's why, you got to see that type of appearance. But your council was a couple people. They're basically looking at me in a sort of way. I'm not seeing their faces directly, but they're saying, yeah, yeah, you got your graduation certificate from that. Congratulations, you're doing really good. You're definitely moving along here.
nice.
But the journey itself um, is when you go into these lucid states, right? Especially
Yeah,
when you feel your body, it often is an experience that your mind is like, whoa, 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 what's going on? When you relax, sometimes that's all it takes for you to actually allow it to go to other levels. Many of us, we don't remember our dreams or the lucid dream. We quickly wake up when we start to feel like, oh my God, this is getting too real, sort of thing.
yeah,
When you learn to relax when practicing this, I'm being told that you like to learn how to do more lucid dreaming, so this is something to do, is find a
yeah,
way to relax and say, yeah, it's all good. Don't look into this too much. It's more to explore other things. It's more about exercising your muscles on another physical plane of existence, because they're physical. They're literally other physical worlds, and they go into, there are other dimensions that are real when you're dreaming. And since this is a public session, I'm going to say this to people listening. um,
yeah.
they're actual other real worlds. They may not seem as real as this one exactly with all the same rules, but that's it. All these worlds are consistent. Sometimes the inconsistency is its consistentness. There's things like teleportation and whatnot, but when you go from one point to another and you can't remember how you got from here to there, oftentimes that is the part where your brain says, I don't know how we got that. It seemed like we teleported. But that's because your brain, it can't equate that. It's like, I'm missing too many pieces of the
Pieces.
ingredients to understand it. So it's like, it doesn't matter. What you remember and what your mind goes through is whatever you bring back is what you're to bring back. Like whatever
Okay,
you
Julien.
remember, that's important. Don't worry about what you can't. But when you make a conscious effort to try to remember your dreams more and be more involved, you'll get a lot more feedback. You'll get a lot more experiences that you can take back, because you're saying, you know what? I'm going. I'm going to class. I got a classroom here, and I'm willing to use this kind of classroom. It can be a deliberate intent. It's not necessary, but you can. And I'm being reminded about if you want to remember your dreams better, obviously you can decide when to wake up. Give yourself some space to actually lay in bed and remember your dreams. Also, drink as organic carrot juice as you can before going to bed, about a quarter cup or a half cup. That'll help you as well.
Organic what?
Carrot juice.
Carrot juice.
Yes,
Okay.
that's like juice for the pineal gland.
Nice. Okay.
Yes, it doesn't. It can immediately get digested and help with meditation, but for the most part, it's something that's going to work over a longer period of time and be acclimated to support more vivid dreaming.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Julian. Well, thanks for all this. And to finish the session, because I know it's 1 hour, I'll just ask a question that I know the answer, but I want to ask it anyways.
Okay.
Do- Does my higher self knows that I'm trying to get a strong contact with him, like a direct contact, like putting
Yes.
my hands towards the heaven and he reaching me. Well, I know
Yes.
he's me, but from an advanced point of view, right?
Yes. And it's going to start with ways that are less abstract and ways that your mind understands more. And it's called synchronicity.
Yeah, that's what I am
Right? Your
experiencing.
synchronicity is going to get off the scale. When it starts getting off the scale, you're very close to direct communication
All
in your
right.
case, okay?
Yeah.
So, so continue to follow the excitement of, hey, I saw a cat yesterday and I see it today. I saw a picture of a cat yesterday and I see it today. You know? Pay
Yes.
attention to that. And oftentimes when you see synchronicity, it's surrounding something that you were just thinking about. It's like using a highlighter in a piece of paper. What you're just thinking about, put more thought into that. Revisit that thought. There's something very like a key there, you know. So synchronicity oftentimes shows you a key that can unlock a great many things.
Like when my girlfriend wakes me in the middle of the night and I look at the clock and it's 11:11.
Yeah, yeah, that's perfect. Numerology is a really good way to source in um, synchronicity as well.
Okay, Julian. Well, it was an incredibly synchronistic talk to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Both ways. Yes, I very much enjoyed it.
So I wish you great blessings and peace and love, and yeah, go on your path. And it was nice crossing our paths together, and to the joy of doing this once again.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, and I'll see you soon.
All right, I love you, brother. Peace.